Good morning, aspirant. A new law has been introduced in Australia recently, which says you have a right to disconnect. What happens in different working sector, seniors, bosses, managers used to used to give extra work to their employees, even if working office hours are over. When they're in home, when they have completed their work and they went home, then also they are putting mail, they are putting extra works, extra burden to them. This is a kind of exploitation or overworking culture which eventually drops mental health, and employees get exhausted time by time. With this, considering this, different first world country, first world nations have introduced right to disconnect, where it's a right to the employee that they can switch off their phone. They can use a phone for office and use a phone for home, and they can put that particular phone or device in the office itself. So they are not bound to receive calls, respond mails, do extra work after office hours. The work culture is in Indian context is even worse. We know the private sectors. People says how much exploitation they face in private sector, how much overburden they face in working in a private sector. So India should also incorporate this kind of law. But eventually India has not incorporated this law. But what learning we can take and apply it to our daily life, to our study, to make our study, our preparation productive, it's our concern. So we have different involvements in our daily life. We have parents, we have our colleges, we have our colleagues, we have some part-time works also. But we all should give that a certain space of our day. If you calculate that eventually how many hours you have in a day for you, you will find that 8 to 9 hours in sleeping and other necessary works, almost 12 hours gone. Half of your time is gone for those works which definitely you have to do. Plus, if you are a college student, then 3 4 hours, sometimes 5 6 hours in college you have to spend. So the remaining very little time you get, that is the time for your preparation for your exam, unless and until you are a full-time aspirant. So what happens? Calls from friends, calls from relatives, which ultimately bothers you, you have a right to disconnect. Sometimes you have to say no to your friend parties. Sometimes you have to say no to family gatherings. Sometimes you have to say no to party outings and all. You have a right to disconnect. What will happen? A main difference between loneliness and solitude is loneliness is when you have nobody with you and you are sad because of that. But solitude is you are enjoying your own company. After right to disconnect, you should be in solitude state, not in lonely state. When you disconnect to unnecessary calls, unnecessary talks, unnecessary events, unnecessary discussions, you will find that your effective hours of study has increased. For example, I have started reading a new chapter now, and I have to need a concrete focus on that. And then one of my friend calls me, and they are telling me their problems in life. Obviously, I have time for them, okay? But if we involve first time, it's okay. Second, third, fourth, fifth time, if in every time we involve in them, that will definitely drop your productivity. And mark my word, when everything of that friend will be sorted out and you will be having that phase of life when you need to talk to somebody, in most of the cases you will not get that friend. It's the harsh reality. As an aspirant at this point, you should focus only on your productivity, only on your studies. That's why you can choose right to disconnect. Suppose you have one friend, one relative, one colleague. You don't want to talk much with them. You don't want to have hours and hours of discussion with them. Or even if you want, you know that it will not help you at all in your preparation. Rather, it's wastage of time. You can choose right to disconnect, but with one condition. If you choose this detachment, you should end up with solitude, not the loneliness. In Bhagavad Gita, Sri Krishna says, practice and detachment is the key to sharp focus. So, detachment is one component, and for this, you can choose right to disconnect. But obviously, when your friend, when your colleagues, when your relative are in actual problem, definitely you should prioritize them. But each and every time when you know this discussion is not productive, helping someone is always productive. Mind it, it's not waste of time. If you are helping someone, some of your friend is facing some problem and all, that is very much important for them. It is helping someone. Helping someone brings a positivity in you, so you should definitely do that. But after a certain time, when you realize that eventually now it is killing your unnecessary times from your study, then you can choose right to disconnect and you can eventually talk to them. I don't think the discussion is needed or something. I want to keep disconnected from people. You can say them. If they're your good friend, they will obviously understand. And in the last 2 or 3 videos, I have told you about uh, how to deal with phone addiction. There I have told you that to put a timer on schedule power on off, that is also one component you can incorporate to choose this disconnection. Definitely this will increase your productivity. One last thing, when you go to unnecessary discussions, unnecessary extra works, what has nothing to do with your preparation, then eventually when you sit for study, then those thoughts, those works run in your background, in your brain, in the background. So that definitely kills your productivity. Suppose you have a discussion, you have a conflict with your friend, with your relatives. Then when you will study, those things, those bad things, those negativity, those things will be, will be disturbing you a lot, which will eventually not let you study. So keep yourself distant from those things and study well. Definitely you will get what you want. Jai Shri Krishna. Radhe Radhe.